Alright, so hello everyone and welcome today to what is going to be another edition of The Verdict. I am SpraynPray1000 as I reposition my mic. And today we are going to talk about the second game in the Titanfall series titled Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is a first-person shooter game where you play as a pilot, essentially your typical first-person shooter-esque type of human that you control. But the main emphasis of Titanfall is not only on the fast-paced, very fluid movement that you can pull off while you're a pilot, but also on the slower-paced but action-heavy Titan gameplay. And a Titan is a gigantic robot that you control that has various weapons and various attributes and abilities. Pretty simplistic stuff once you get the hang of things, but there's certainly a lot to experiment with and to mess around with. So the first thing that I'll talk about is the single-player campaign of Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2, unlike its predecessor, has a single player, which is different from Titanfall 1, which did not. The single-player campaign, you play as Jack Cooper, a low-class rifleman in militia, and throughout the story, he comes into possession of being the pilot of a Titan called BT-7274, and essentially it revolves around their mission to save a planet from destruction. And without going too much, more into detail, the way the story is set up is pretty simplistic. I don't want to say it's bare bones, but it doesn't really go too ridiculous. There's nothing really too in-depth about the story. It just gets like a good grade because it's solid, it's interesting, you want to see it to the end. More rather than the overarching story, it's more the individual levels that I feel where this game really shines. For instance, there's one level where you're jumping through time, and then there's another level where you're storming essentially a beachhead inside your Titan. There's a lot of cool stuff that this game does, and I really think that that's really what's most interesting about the campaign is more the gameplay as opposed to the story. Don't get me wrong, it is nice that they put the effort into the story. Definitely all the characters all really play their parts well. The only thing I will say that leaves to be desired is Jack Cooper is kind of a generic kind of FPS hero. Doesn't really have much oomph behind him. He typically has certain dialogue prompts during the story, either a normal typical response or a sassy dick-headed response. But other than that, his mandated dialogue doesn't really vary too much from just more or less stating the facts and stating the events. Now, that's different compared to the characters around him. The characters around him are vastly different. They have various different personalities, and that's very refreshing. So at the center of it, Cooper isn't that, unique or original or, stupendous. But at the very least, the other characters keep things moving, keep things lively. And I really enjoy that, and I think that that's really good, especially BT himself. I think that the relationship between BT and Cooper is a good part of the story. But again, the gameplay is really where this campaign shines. Unlike most typical first-person shooter games, where the campaign feels tacked on, just kind of there to promote variety, but not really just to be there to, add diversity and, to really go the extra mile to present to you something different. This campaign, as I said, every level feels like it's original, it's interesting, it explores a different concept, a different type of level, and I think part of that is due to the nature of the game, the duality of playing between infantry and Titan, and mixing and matching both of them. It's also worth noting that the infantry aspect of this game, while it is heavily shooter-based, also has a great emphasis on platforming. In this game, you can wall run, you can slide, and at several points in the game, they test your wall running skills by making you either time your wall jumps, have quick reactions while wall jumping because you can shoot and wall run, sliding, mixing and matching all these different things together, platforming and all that. And that, in my opinion, is really where this game shines, is by diversifying up the shooting, not just with shooting, but also with the potential for platforming, which you really don't see a lot in first-person shooter campaigns. And that really, adds an extra layer to it, makes it more wholesome and complete. And overall, I really found myself relishing, the breaks in between the Titan or infantry modes with some good old-fashioned platforming. Now, the campaign of this game is pretty short. It's only about 8 levels. You could probably beat it in like a 6-hour sitting if you just, turbo through it or whatever. You're not looking for collectibles or anything like that. But what I will say is, as I said, because the levels feel complete, they feel diverse, I feel this campaign doesn't stick around any longer than it needs to. So I really feel that for the length that it has, it is pretty good and it is pretty replayable because of the diverse gameplay. So the campaign, in my opinion, gets like an 8.5. It gets a good score because it does a lot of things right. It has a lot of good stuff. I just feel that there's a few things that could be improved on, a few things that could be mixed up and matched better. But otherwise, I was very satisfied playing this campaign. I didn't know what to expect going into it, and I was really, really satisfied coming out of it. So, other than that, let's talk about the multiplayer, which is, as most people would say, the main meat of this game is the multiplayer. And I'll say this about the multiplayer. The worst part about it right off the bat are the maps. The maps in this game are like a 6 out of 10. And for the final verdict score, I'm going to say this. The maps could be a bit better. And I really mean that. Like, I think every map in this game could be a bit better. But what I do like in this game is that everyone can summon a Titan. Everyone can, do all sorts of cool things. And I do enjoy that. And that is actually pretty cool, and I like that a lot about this multiplayer. But otherwise, I think that this multiplayer has a lot of variety of modes. You have attrition, where it's humans and AI versus humans and AI, and you get points based on who you kill. There's bounty hunt, which is more like I don't want to say like collective. They used to have this old game mode. Basically, every kill that you get gives you money, and certain AI on the map are worth a lot of money. And the more money you collect, the more money you earn for your team, and you can bank your bonus if you don't die. And when you die, you do lose 50%, but if you manage to bank it, you can potentially carry teams just by virtue of having that many Pokemon, that much money, which is really, really good, and I think really, really fun. And on top of that, there's Team Deathmatch, Pilot versus Pilot, which is 8v8. The only thing I'll say is that they do fluctuate how many people are allowed in, but I think it's really to allow more balance, to keep things controlled, and I think that that's all right. There's Last Titan Standing, which is basically the first team to kill the other team's Titans wins. And just a lot of different game modes in this game. I really feel Amped Hardpoint, for instance, is sort of a variation on your typical map control type of game mode. And I really, 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 really enjoy that. I think that no matter what there is, there's something for everyone on this game. There's prestiging called regeneration in this game, where you can re-unlock stuff like usual. Again, same people that made COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2. And that's really, really good, I think, to allow replayability. You can permanently unlock things that you buy. And that's really, really good because that also allows, okay, well, I like this, I like that. Well, you're going to be able to keep it forever. You will never lose it even when you regen, which is really, really good. On top of that, there's a variety of classes. Each pilot in this game has a different loadout that he can use. So, for instance, if you want to play as a cloak unit, you can cloak. You can go invisible. Humans will be able to see you by your flickering, but Titans will mostly be unable to see you until you attack, which is good. There's grapple, which, as the name suggests, allows you to literally grapple to anything that you want, essentially, including Titans, players, environment, etc. So it can be used both offensively and defensively. There's also Stim, which allows you to move faster and run faster. There's AWOL, which deploys a portable cover, which when you shoot out of it through the curve, you deal more damage to your bullets, and it blocks all incoming fire, including from Titans, but it can be destroyed at a base on its bottom. And that's personally my favorite. I really think that it has its moments for, turnarounds and turning on people and whatnot, and that's why I really like it. There are also, I forget the last couple of ones. What is it? There's also Sonic Blade, which allows you to pulse and see people around you. And And I like the variety of all these different abilities because it really helps out with the game, I feel, with diversifying your kit. You can really run different things. Some kits benefit from having certain abilities. So, for instance, or certain game modes, you know, it might be better to, say, have a radar, like with the sonic knife. Or maybe you want to grapple, you know, if you want to get around quickly, or if you want to play anti-Titan so you can grapple onto Titans. You earn your own Titan in this game in multiplayer by doing actions in the game. So, for instance, if you're playing Bounty Hunt, earning a lot of money by killing a lot of grunts will give you your Titan. Whereas if you're playing Amped Hardpoint, or you will earn your Titan by amping points and keeping them amped and capturing points. And it's less emphasis on Titans as a kill streak, but rather Titans as a reward for playing the multiplayer game mode the way it's meant to be played. And I think that that's the right amount of stuff. You can get your Titan really, really quickly, by the way, by just attacking other Titans and doing it in succession. And there's a lot of ways to do that, from rodeoing to taking the battery that you get from rodeoing or killing a player who has a battery to your own friendly Titans. Each Titan has a core ability in this game. There's 6 different Titans. There's Ion, there's Scorch, there's Ronin, there's Legion, there's Tone, and there's North Star. Each one with varying amounts of health, various play styles, and a lot of different things that you can do. And I really think that that, again, adds to the diversity of the game mode. Now, at the current time, it really seems like there's only a few different types of Titans that really are played in multiplayer, but I feel that as time goes on, they'll even that out a lot more. But at the moment, it seems like a lot of people play Tone, and that really kind of unbalances the game a bit, because you're allowed to camp if you can stack Tones, and that does get pretty annoying on certain maps, again, because of the way they're designed. But that being said, I wouldn't say that it necessarily ruins the game. In fact, I would say that if they manage to balance it out perfectly, I think that there will be a nice diversity between all the different types of Titans, and that's really what I like to see, is that, you know, okay, you have a certain matchup, you have to play it one way, or if you have another matchup, you have to play it another way, and stuff like that really, really is what I like to see in this game. It takes your standard look at someone, shoot at them, move on, you know, die, whatever, respawn, and it really reinvents the wheel a lot when you can say, okay, I'll call in my Titan, my whole team will call in Titans, and we're going to take back the map, we're going to take back the objective. Or, all right, we don't have Titan advantage, we're down, now we got to play more defensively, we got to play, you know, hide and seek, taking pop shots at the Titans and whatnot. And while it does allow for teams to stomp if they know what they're doing, it also allows for teams to come back. In fact, there have been a lot of games I've played with my friends where we were on the complete losing end for half of it, and then we got, you know, a couple of us got Titans, the rest of us played defensively, and we came back and we won with a close game. And I like that, because unlike in other games where it's more or less a shutout, you know right away basically if you're going to win or lose, this time around it's a little more varied. You don't know, and that's what I really, really like. And I think that again, if you're good, you can just stomp the opponent out of, you know, existence, essentially. But it gives people a chance to come back. And that's more than what I'll say for a lot of other games like Battlefield or whatnot, where it really feels like one or two people doing things really obnoxiously and obsessively well can completely dominate the field. That being said, the weapon diversity, I think, is pretty reasonable. I think that almost every weapon in this game has been fine-tuned to be good at what it does. So, for instance, shotguns are really good at close range. The assault rifles have a variety of uses, like you would expect. Submachine guns have decent uses. Light machine guns are more for long range, but have a lot of good stopping power and high ammo count. And there's a couple of different attachments you can put on guns. It's essentially like the same, again, because these guys are the same guys that made Call of Duty, they know what they're doing in this aspect. And you'll see a lot of similarities between the two. Like, you level up, you prestige, you unlock titles, you unlock icons, and that's really awesome. I think that that's really cool that they took this RPG-esque idea from Call of Duty and evolved it in a way that I think Call of Duty has yet to really even master and make decent. And that's really what I like to see. So, at the very least, I am thoroughly pleased with the multiplayer of this game. I think that the multiplayer of this game is one of the most fun multiplayer modes I've played in a long time, and I really thoroughly enjoy it from start to finish. I have zero doubt in my mind that I will continue to play it. I will most certainly progress as time through it as time goes on, because I just enjoy it that much. And I think that, you know, with whether you're playing alone or you're playing with friends, you're going to enjoy yourself if you take the time to learn the maps, to learn the guns. And the best part is that they are going to release free stuff. So if you're worried about, you know, maybe the game will not, you know, if you're worried that you might have to spend, I don't know, a season pass money or whatnot, that this game will not do that. They've already claimed that the game will have free maps, free everything. Everything that they're going to release for this game after launch is going to be free for the multiplayer. And that's really, really cool. Of course, they have yet to deliver on it, but once they do, you know, assuming they stick to it, that's going to be really cool. I think it's going to bring out a lot in this game to have such dedicated support even after it's done. Or even after, you know, launch week is over and the big hype is over. And I see myself playing this for a long time. Now, again, as I said, the negatives of the multiplayer are more or less the current Titan stats and the maps mainly. And that's really about it. I mean, I don't have many qualms other than that. I really feel like, again, once you get into it, it's really good. So what would I give Titanfall 2? Besides a stellar, memorable campaign and a really immersive, good multiplayer, I think that Titanfall 2 deserves some pretty good marks. I think that it really strove to do things very differently, and it strove to go above and beyond. And that's really, really what I like to see in a game like this, is I like to see stuff like that when you're making a multiplayer game that has to stand the test of time. So I'm going to give Titanfall 2 a good score. I'm going to give it a 93 out of 100. And again, the reason why, as I specified, the story could have been a bit more interesting, innovative, maybe even one level longer, but otherwise perfect length. The multiplayer could have certainly better maps. It probably could have one or two more, I feel, as well. But in terms of modes and whatnot, it's pretty set. So Titanfall 2 was a really, really good experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see what Respawn does, not only with this game, but with whatever else they go to work on. I really like them. Respawn and Visceral are my two favorite studios at EA right now, hands down. Anything else, you know, that remains to be seen. But I was thoroughly pleased with what I got. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hope you guys will run out and pick out this game, because it's really, really good. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's going to be it for this edition of The Verdict. I'm SpraynPray1000, and I will see you next time.